Alright, so this is the next question. So the lesson here teaches us about for loops. Basically what you can do is you start off with, it says here, the initializing variable, so where you're starting, the terminating condition, which is this here, and then the update flag, which is this here. So the problem says you'll be given two positive integers, a and b, where a is less than b, separated by a new line. The output for each integer n in the inclusive interval a to b. So it's important to note that this is inclusive. So what that means is if a is 1 and b is 4, you'll get 1, 2, 3, and 4 because it's inclusive. If it was exclusive, it would just be 2 and 3, but we're including the end elements in the range. So it's important. We see that we can't input a 0. If it's greater than 9, we just output that it's even or it's odd. You can see here. So basically, you guys see what you're doing. You're basically looping from 8 to 11 and then outputting all of the numbers as strings, or just saying if they're even and odd. So sort of how this is going to look is the first thing we have to do is read in the variables. So we'll use this scanf that we learned about before. So we're going to read in two integers. Remember, you have to pass by reference for them to update. And then we're gonna do a for loop. So usually for loops look like this sort of. So what this is doing is it's starting at 0, it's iterating until a, and it's incrementing each time. This is different because we're doing a custom range. So we're going to start I at a. We're iterating into b, and it's really important. Remember, it's inclusive, not exclusive, so we need to say equal to, and we'll increment it each time. And then we're just going to display here. So in order to do the display, I'm going to create a function. So we'll declare a void, say display, and we'll just take a number. So that's the definition, and then we actually have to implement it. So it's just to test it. To start off, we're just going to print it all and make sure that what we're doing here is we're just making sure that the inclusive interval is correct. So say display I. So you just want to make sure that this says 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. You can see that there. So now what we need to do is let's just get the words here. So we'll copy paste the array from the previous example. We'll say if num is less than 10, then let's just copy paste this a bit quicker. Numbers of num, else. So what we're doing here is we're just testing 8 and 9. And let's test it real quick. Something went wrong. So here, string, remember it has to be a constant string or a constant character array. So you can see we got the 8 and 9. So now let's do the case where it's greater than 9. So the thing for how do you check parity, which is even versus odd, is you do number modulo 2, and if it's 0, that means that it's even. And the reason for this is, so what this does is it divides by the number 2 and then looks at the remainder. So if you look at parity here, what you're going to notice is the last bit indicates if it's even or odd. So a 1 is odd and a 0 is even. So when you divide by 2 and look at the remainder, you're basically just looking at the last bit here, which is why Modulo 2 is how you check for parity. We'll say else if num modulo 2 is else printf odd. Oh, new lines. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, all right, so see, that worked. And so there's one other thing you can do. I would prefer to do it this way, but you should note that there's something called the ternary operator, which some people use. I think it's less readable, but what we could do is we could condense this by using the ternary operator. So what the ternary operator does is you can have a condition like modulo 2 is equal to 0, and then you can basically put the if test on one line. This here, it's basically saying if it's true after this question mark, you do the first thing. If it's false, you do the second. So the full expression for this would be string parity is equal to that. So what this is going to do is it's basically going to condense that if else onto one line. So what this does here is it runs the condition, it updates the string, and then sets it even or odd, and then we just output that. So you can see, yeah, so you can see that works. Again, I personally don't like this just because I think the ternary operator is really confusing, but it is something you'll see a lot just because it can help you condense an if-else test. So beware of that.